back for our cash tag segment. Now let's bring in the co-founder of LikeFolio.com, Mr. Andy Swan, to the show. He's going to break down DraftKings for us. They have earnings coming up as well. Andy, if I could start out with a question, what is paralyzing, or what's the Achilles heel on some of these casinos or gaming names? Why are their stocks doing so poorly? Is it just something as simple as competition?
Yeah, it's really cutthroat competition. I think these companies have to give away, so much money and so much on these promos to try to get new users in the door that it's very difficult for them to be profitable. I think it's really kind of an arms race to the bottom in terms of, who can put out the best promo for the Super Bowl, who can put out the best promo for the World Cup, and it really eats it at earnings over time in a big way. So their marketing spend on these promos is absolutely insane. If they could come to some sort of truce, I think everyone would be better off, but I don't really see that happening. And when we look at, how the Super Bowl went for these companies, it was really very surprising for me to see FanDuel, kind of edge out DraftKings in terms of the number of people talking about betting on those platforms. But really the biggest surprise was, the nascent, kind of unidentifiable object up there at the top is, Barstool and Penn Gaming really didn't get in on the action at all. And that was true also coming off of the World Cup. And so I think there's two companies in the mix. They're really battling each other, but both are spending tons of money to do it and really hurting their earnings and margins as a result. It's a market share grab type of thing that's going on right now, and that gets very, very expensive. The good news is the market is growing. The market for sports betting continues to grow. Consumer interest in sports betting continues to grow, and also the legalization continues to grow. I think we've got 3, maybe 4 states that could turn legal on sports betting over the next year in 2023. So there's a tailwind at the back of these guys, but they're really cutting each other's throats to get market share. And it'll be interesting to see, kind of what's left when the market does mature.
Hey, Andy, Nathan here. Thanks for joining us. My questions are around that same line in terms of, when I look at the chart and the mentions there, it looks like that how much of that is a result of basically the TAM that's growing within gambling in terms of the new adopters that are coming on board. And so you'd likely see that correlation with more mentions. But in that graphic, where's MGM? Where's Caesars? There's you could say that DraftKings does have brand in terms of recognition. And so maybe some consumers feel safe having their money there or going through that platform. But in terms of, there's no differentiation in between getting those the same product there. You're going to get essentially the same spread. There might be half a point to a point shed here and there. But where are those other competitors? And is that a danger for a company like DraftKings in the sense that they're going to have to up their promos in order to attract their customer base?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest threat for both of these companies, FanDuel and DraftKings, is how much they have to go out of the way to differentiate their product. And really that comes down to giving away money because they can't change. Like you said, the lines are the same pretty much. You go to FanDuel, you go to DraftKings, you go to Barstool, you go to MGM, you're going to get basically the same line, especially on big games. And even in the case where, you change the line or you try to attract new people in, that just brings in people for that bet. I think a lot of users are getting very used to having multiple accounts. So they just go where the price is the best. And so it's very difficult for these companies to differentiate with each other. The only way so far that they figured out to do it to attract new gamblers to their platforms is through these promos that cost so much money. So it's almost like DraftKings and FanDuel have found a way to turn one of the most old school, historically profitable operations in history, and that is accepting sports bets and turning it into a money loser. And so that's a tough spot to be when you're trying to win an entire nation over to just your platform.
Yeah, Andy, when you think about the NFL playoffs leading up to the Super Bowl, and then you think about February turning into March and March Madness. It's like an Irish bar on St. Patrick's Day. You better be making money during these times, or that's a big red flag, correct? I mean, these are the times when these companies, these casinos, have to be making hay, correct?
Yeah, this is their Black Friday, absolutely. I think, from just like you talked about, football playoffs all the way through March Madness is kind of it. I do think that one thing, I tend to overlook, we tend to overlook as investors, is that there is an opportunity for these companies to expand what their customers bet on. They can make baseball, they can make, year-round soccer, they can make a lot of the, horse racing, they can make people into more active and avid bettors than they are through good user engagement on the platform, something that the typical casino bookmaker cannot do. But I have yet to see proof that either company, any of these companies, is exceptionally good at that. I think that's going to be the key for growth for one of these companies, is to not just ride the tailwind of sports betting improving and throw out a bunch of promos. I think you've got to take that list that you build and turn them into a more active gambler with more, fun, kind of interesting ways to bet year round.
Yeah. Can you imagine, Andy, trying to bet on a soccer game? What's the line? A half for every game. Yeah. It's a half a point every game in a soccer game. It's got to be crazy. How far do you have to go to be betting on soccer? Andy Swan, thanks for coming on as always. Have a great day. That's Andy Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio.com.